Okay, amazing. Hi, hello, welcome. I am so excited to see all of your faces. I want to let you know if you haven't done a masterclass with me before, they are very interactive. Please feel free to unmute yourself, jump in at any time if you need any clarification. If you want to ask questions, no question is silly at all because chances are if you're thinking it, so is someone else. So I encourage you to please ask it. We have time today to go through and like workshop it. If you're like, Amee, I just don't understand what you mean by that. Can you elaborate? Hi, Ange. Yeah, ask, get involved, use me. I'm all yours. Sharon, no worries about the background. Makes it more fun, right? Hi, Emily. Okay, so sorry for those of you that I've repeated this 4 times now, but if everyone can please have their visual art diary and their sharpies, and if you don't have that, no stress. At the very least, if you just have a pen and paper, because you're going to need to take some notes that you can then transfer to your beautiful big visual art diary. I personally love visual art diaries because I hate lines. I just find them really inconvenient and annoying because I like making it big and large and using all my different sizes and shapes and colors. Sharpies doesn't really work with the whole lines, but if you like lines, use lines. There's no rules, right? It's just mainly so that we've got this record that you're recording in real time of the year 2023, right? And don't ever feel constricted either. If you're like, oh my God, I haven't filled this in, start it from whenever. It literally does not matter. And, you know, it's not something you need to be like rigorous with each day. It's okay if you miss days. And it's not about journaling if you're not a journaler, because even though I love writing, I'm not a fucking journaler. But when I find that there are like big things I need to process, I do love just getting it out of my head and onto paper. And with every example that I'm going to give you today, this is simply what works for me, as in the way that I get it out of my head and onto paper and, you know, like digest the information and process it. If you're doing it and it doesn't fit for you, alter it, play with it, make it work for you. Okay. Like I happen to just love words. That's how I express my creativity. If you draw it. If you want to fucking scrapbook it, like whatever it looks like for you. There are no rules. You make all the rules, right? So don't get stuck on any of the details, okay? Now, I've worked really hard to narrow this down to just 5 key mindset shifts to take on, because I wanted them to work for no matter where you are in life, what you're doing, whether you have a business, whether you have a job, like whatever it is that you're up to. Now, I'm going to start with the 5 mindset shifts because these are the key things that I have found not only for myself, but with people that I have worked with as well, like women that are mothers, that aren't mothers, just everyone and anyone, right? It really, really works. And I didn't want to overload you because sometimes when it's like you're doing something new and all of a sudden you've got 20 new things to do, overwhelming and you'll just stop. So I've kept it really simple, right? So I'm going to start with the 5 mindset shifts, and this is what we're going to include in our books. And I've gone and like made little like highlighted tabs. Again, you don't have to do it. It's just for easy reference. All filled in. Now, I'm going to start with that, and then I'm going to finish with a few fun bits and pieces that are just great to have to reflect back on, and that are moments and memories that, you know, sometimes you're like, I want to remember this forever, but you don't. And it's the idea of this is it jogs your memory and gets you back into that moment, right? Hi, Bree. Welcome. Oh, okay, amazing. Bree, I was just saying, if you have any questions or want me to clarify anything or want to add anything, just unmute yourself and go for gold, mate. Like, go for it. Okay, so we're going to get started on the 5 mindset shifts. But first of all, I really want you to like title this book 2023, the year of me. This isn't about creating like outrageous goals and like pushing yourself to achieve them. This is more about life and your experience of it. Oh, I love that, Sharon. Beautiful, beautiful. It's like you read my mind. It's about your experience of life and the life that you want to live, right? So the first one we're going to start with is creating a new realm of what's possible. Now, I like to write this out as if I'm living it. Now, one of the key points for this is not to get too fixated on the details. So, for example, and I'm gonna again use my life examples. If you're like, Amee, I don't want to travel, that sounds horrible, that's fine. Just adapt it to suit you, right? So, my first one that I wrote out is for those of you that don't know, I am obsessed with summer. I love summer. My idea of a good time is being hot all the time, 40 degrees, ideal temperature. I want to be by the ocean. And, I'm really clear that my life goal is that I want to wake up every day and feel like I'm on holiday. And even before I was living and breathing what I'm doing right now, traveling around and literally being on holiday every day, I started looking at different ways I could incorporate it into my day-to-day life. And that's why we're going to hone in on this. Not because, maybe it feels like this big, massive, out-of-reach goal, but because we're able to bring it into our everyday life and have tastes of it now, right? So mine was Exmouth, and I made a whole page on it. But because obviously I'm not in Exmouth, I actually wrote or something better. Now, to me, that was the dream back then, and it still is now. And I got really clear about it, but I wrote it out as if it was happening today, like right now, as if I was living and breathing it, as if I woke up and I'm living my ideal life, right? Not even day, life, because I hate it when it's like, oh, write out your ideal day. It feels too constricted because my life changes so much day to day, especially like you know how it is, right? Okay. So and this is what I want you to write out. Like, what does it feel like? So I wrote down a slow lifestyle by the ocean, because I kept finding that the same thing I wanted over and over again was to slow down. Like, what was it that I loved about holidays? What is it that you love? Like, you love when you think about, if you're having a hard time even thinking about what it is you want, think back to a time or a moment where you just felt full of joy, where you felt really content, where you felt, I like to explain it like one of those moments where you almost just want to pinch yourself because you can't believe that this is your real life. And sometimes they're like these momentary glimpses. And it took me a long time to actually work out what mine looked like, right? So don't worry if it doesn't come immediately. We're just starting to put this thought process out there, okay? I wrote what I was surrounded by. So it was super simple, like surrounded by nature and like-minded people, bathed in sunshine more often than not, daily adventures, exploring, fresh air, sun-kissed skin, happy, warm, salty, kids everywhere, shared experiences, days spent swimming with turtles, running alongside emus, away, safe, calm, peaceful, happy, simple. So as you can see, like, it doesn't have to be this, hang on one sec, sorry, I'm getting a little bit distracted, but it just it doesn't have to be like as much, like, I don't want you to go too nuts into too much detail. It can be broad in the sense like-minded people and like what it feels like, what it sounds like. Okay. Yeah. So go into that. And it's okay if you don't know the exact idea now, even if you just write out this, like include this here, write this out here. And it doesn't have to feel like it's possible right now. It's just what feels good for you. Does anyone have any questions or like, oh, I don't even know how to do this, or any feelings like that? No?
Hey, Amee, are we just talking about the year 2023, or is this a bit more of a bigger vision into the future?
Bigger vision into the future. Yeah. Yeah. So when Jill, could you just expand on that? Because that's a really good question.
Yeah, so I think you said at the start that we were talking about 2023 And so, yeah, is it constricted time-wise? It's like,
no.
are we thinking, yeah, that's perfect.
And the reason that I'm saying, like, I know that like, I totally get that mind frame, right? And the reason I'm saying that is because whilst this might be something that doesn't feel like it's available to you in 2023, you can go, and the idea of this becomes almost like this is your reference point. This is your anchor point. So when it comes to making decisions with anything and everything, right? Because you know, Jill, like, life just throws you curveballs left, right, and center. Opportunities come out of the sky that you never imagined possible, that could almost be what you want, but not quite. And the idea of this is this anchors you in, right? So if you're making a decision, is it getting me closer to this, or is it getting me further away? And it actually is that simple. It's yes or no. It's not, oh, but maybe it's going to get me there. It's actually that simple. So the idea of this is it makes all decision making, everything just simple, right? It simplifies it. It takes the hardness out. It's also a really good anchor point to come back to as well, where it's like looking at it realistically. And I'm not going to go into this too much today, because honestly, this is like a 2-3 hour training on its own, is about how to incorporate this into your day-to-day life and get tastes of it. But you can definitely look at it and go, how can I bring an element of this into today, into this week, into this month, you know? Yeah. All right, cool. I'm not going to have time today to let you guys go complete and nuts and flesh it out. So at least if you get started and you're kind of clear about what to do, we're going to move on to the next one, because I'm really conscious of time for everyone as well. Now, the second one is the funnest. So what beliefs do I need to, Havana's here. What beliefs do I need to have to live the life of my dreams, or which is this, right? Which is what the document, the page pages we've just created. So what beliefs do I need to have to live the life of my dreams? Now, sometimes, and if you're anything like me, I go straight to all the reasons why I can't. That's where my brain just automatically goes straight to all the reasons why I can't. So instead of focusing on the problem, we're going to start focusing on the solution. And if it's easier, because especially when you're doing this and you're at the beginning of doing it and training your brain, like obviously now for me, I can do it a lot quicker. But in the moment, if you're straight to, oh, this isn't going to happen because of this, and this, write that out. Write out that whole goddamn list. But we're not putting that list in our book. That needs to go on a separate piece of paper, because we're not filling our book full of reasons why we can't. We're creating the beliefs like I would need to have. Like, it's basically, who do I need to become to have this? Okay. And those beliefs. So if anyone, so I've written them out in a positive way now, and I'll read some of them out to you. But if you're straight away like, I can't even think about that at all, Amee, I just am thinking of all the reasons why I can't, let me know, because I'll help you create a couple of the more solution based as to how you can reframe it. So a big one for me at the time was money. And I feel like that comes up for everyone, right? To some extent. And so I was I was really in lack when I was writing this. I was really in the middle of my journey of just being controlled by my thoughts based on my belief system of being raised by a single mum and now being a single mum. And, and my mum's mum was a single mum. I come from a generation of single moms. There was so much ingrained with me about money as a single mum that I really had to work through. So I started writing things out. Money's fun. The more money I make, the more others can too, because I had really negative connotations about making money, right? Earning money gets to be fun and easy. I love finances, and I have weekly money dates to see what's happening and where. If I spend my days doing what makes me happy and lights me up, I become a magnet for abundance. So can you see how, like, in order for me to have that lifestyle where I'm going to relocate to, at the time was a small country town or somewhere bigger, and live this lifestyle where I'm surrounded by nature and enjoying her childhood and having all these adventures, like, I'm going to need to fund it, right? And having the restricting and lack beliefs and conversations I was having around money, that wouldn't correlate with that life. So what beliefs do you have that you need to, like, what beliefs would you need to adopt and have in order to live this life? Is anyone having any problems with that, and you have any questions, or you want to work through anything?
Yeah, I do.
Hit me.
Okay, so the thing that I find always strikes me is, and it'll be good to get your view on it as well, because you've got lived experience, feeling as though I'm restricted to the school hours and like the school holiday, like that, I feel that fucks with a whole lot of mojo.
Yeah.
And so I just want to get your perspective on that.
Sharon, I love that you asked this question. It gives me goosebumps, because I had a really hard time with this.
Yeah.
And the reason I had a really hard time with it is because, and like, you have such a busy life, I know you're going to get this on a whole level as well, is we don't have time for ourselves either. And it's like only having, I know this is a little bit different to what you asked, but I promise it all comes in with it. And I thought that I had to spend every single moment I had without Havana, like when she was at school working, or I was wasting my time. Yeah. So I started actually creating that self-care, and putting myself first is making me more productive. Yeah. That comes in with that statement. If I spend my days doing what makes me happy and lights me up, I become a magnet for abundance. And what actually ended up happening, Sharon, was instead of spending those times trying to cram work in, I actually only spent 1 to 3 hours cramming work in. And I was so much more productive, because otherwise when I had like 5 hours, I was fucking around. I was like doing 3 things at once, and I wasn't doing anything well. And then I also gave myself permission to work when Havana was home. And I created that she's allowed to still have fun. And, like, it meant there is a lot of juggling. I know, like, there's a lot of juggling involved with that. And it might mean that I might only get half an hour there, but it meant I also had to let go of her being on the iPad for an hour a day during the school holidays was the worst thing ever, or her being in front of the TV made me a shit mum. They weren't great beliefs. And you know what? They need downtime too. They need time away from us. They actually don't want to spend every waking moment with us. Like, they're their own people. They love getting lost and absorbed in their own things. Like, even right now, I'm on holidays traveling around with Havana, and I'm working. So I've got a nanny to go and play with her. And Havana's stoked. She has someone whose only job for 5 hours today is to make sure she's happy and entertained. So it's like you'd be rewriting that belief, as in, like, my girls thrive when I'm taken care of. My girls thrive when I look after myself. My girls thrive. And it's also like, I also started shifting it. Like, what am I teaching Havana? Yeah. Like, I want her to see me how I earn money. I want her to see me working. I don't want her to grow up thinking like money just appears out of nowhere. I don't want her to think that she also has to work herself into the ground to earn it. So it's like the only way that I can teach her, and this goes for any kids, right? Kids do not learn by what you tell them. You can tell them one thing, but they learn by what you do. They watch you. They absorb it. They imitate. They literally mimic it. So if you're going through life like putting yourself last and having these like belief systems that don't really serve you but might be hard to shift, I look at it like, do I want her to grow up thinking like that? And if it's a no, I know that I have to change it in myself first. Does that help?
No, that's really cool. And it's good. And the reason why I was bringing it up as well is I've started implementing taking care of myself now and putting that time out. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, yeah, this is all sweet while we've got holidays and there's no like all the usual crazy that goes on with a school day. And it's just trying to get that reframe and belief that it can still continue when school goes back.
Oh, absolutely. And it's, you know what? It's going to take so much self-discipline, Sharon. That's the thing. Like, everyone thinks we need motivation and inspiration. We need self-discipline. But to have self-discipline, we need to be really clear about what we want and where we're going and why we're doing it first, because otherwise you can't motivate yourself to be disciplined, you know? Yeah.
Thank you.
That was a really good question. Thank you for asking that. Does anyone else have any at all that you want to work through with me, or you feel like I'm all over this?
I do have a question.
Yeah, go.
I think I'm unmuting myself. I came up with my idea, like yours was, you wanted to live on holiday, but I just wanted to see whether you think this I don't want it to sound negative. I don't want any negative words in there. I want it all positive words. Yeah. And it's that I depend on me. So I want to like own my own home. I have my own income. I work my hours rather than like, I want to like get off Centrelink and get out of a rental. So I depend on me. Okay. Does that sound negative?
I love it, but I'm resisting it. And I want to tell you my thought process why. Because as someone who has just done all of that, you need support. Like, it's the whole, I very much had this mentality of I have to prove it to the world that I can do this, that I'm different, that I'm a single mum, but blah, blah, blah. But what I was actually doing was boxing myself into thinking that I had to do it alone. And it's actually impossible. Like, I mean, it's not, but you'll burn yourself to the ground and you won't have that joy, right? So what if yours was like, I can have it all and be fully supported, and do you know what I mean? Like, add in those extra things. So it's like, I can have it all and be totally supported.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds better.
Yeah, because you want to be really open to the support, right?
Yeah.
Like, I charged through it where I was like, you know, because at the beginning I couldn't afford to put Havana in daycare. Like, you know what daycare costs are like. I just couldn't, even with my single mum discounts, I couldn't afford to do it. And I had this mentality that I had to prove to the world that I didn't need her to be in daycare and that I could do it anyway. And it was horrible. I was so strung out. I was a mess, right? And then the minute I'm like, you know, I can be supported and do it, and it's still like, I've still done it, and it's still, you know, like, maybe it's even like I don't have anything to prove to the world, but we're not going to say that. But that's kind of where we're going with that. There's nothing to prove. Like,
I think I can have it all and be supported, and then the goals would be the Centrelink thing and the rent trap, like that kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that goal, like, it almost doesn't even need to be a goal, because you, by your dream life and getting you there, it'll just be just something that happens. Yeah. And Holly, I just want to tell you, like, getting off Centrelink is so scary, because it's always there. It's like that regular paycheck. But
I don't want it.
But
I know that, like, earning that amount will mean that.
Yeah. But and honestly, I don't even notice. I don't even notice. Like, it is, and I was really surprised. I was so scared, and I was like, oh my God, this, and it just feels like a weight's lifted off you, because Centrelink is actually designed to keep you stuck here. Yeah, it's not set up to get you off it and earning enough. Like, it's really designed to keep you there. So it's helpful, but it's a launching pad, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cool. You're welcome. Anyone else? No, we're good. All right. We will move on to the next one. Okay. Also, all of these things you will continuously be adding to. So always keep a couple of pages clear after, because you'll find that you might fill it, and then across the year more will come up. The idea is you're constantly adding to this, because you're going to get tried and tested in all different ways. And that's where we're going to go straight back to what we've created, we want our life to look like. Then what beliefs? So if you're really struggling with something, it's like, okay, this isn't really serving me. What belief would I need to adopt right now and try on to be able to have that and become that person who lives that life? Right? So all of this is a work in progress. Okay, then the third one is my favorite, and this is really a reminder of who you are in the world. Okay, so I call it my impact, and this is where basically anyone, so it doesn't have to just be clients, it could be friends, it could be family members, it could be a random on Instagram, it could literally be anyone. If anyone says anything that acknowledges and reflects back onto you, the impact that you have on their life by simply existing, you write it down and you have it in there, because we all have moments where we feel like, what is the point? Or, you know, we'll be working really hard towards something and making progress. And then next thing you know, we feel like we're catapulted back 5 steps and we're starting from the beginning. And we're like, how did this go so wrong? Why am I even doing this? Blah, blah, blah. And then it's like, hang on, I've got like a whole book with pages full of reasons why me simply existing impacts the world and people in it. And this is just one of those things that I find just reminds you of who you are in the moment. And, you know, especially as mums, I think when we get caught up in just being a mum and forget that we're anything else, this is really powerful. And this can, you know what, it doesn't even just apply to mums. It could be like as an employee, as a business owner, like literally anything. When you get too caught up in that role and you forget that the impact you have and who you are, this is just really great. And I would write like this, constantly add to this. And don't think that anything, oh, that's not enough, I can't add that. Add it. If it makes you feel good, if you read it and you're like, oh my God, yes, like, and it makes you jump up and you feel alive and has that kind of reaction, it deserves to go on the book every time. Keep adding it. Okay. I'll let you write that out. And then, so this is kind of similar to the beliefs, but this is what I get externally. And I used to roll my eyes at affirmations. I used to be like, but then I realized what was happening is I was reading and saying and trying to take on ones that I didn't actually believe. And if you don't believe them and you try reading and saying and like that, there's no alignment. You are so out of alignment. You feel ridiculous, right? And one of my friends said to me, just shift it. Shift the wording. So if you want to write something like, I'm abundant, money like throws itself at me, you could write something like, every day I get more and more comfortable with making more and more money, you know, and just soften it. And then it feels real. But I wanted to give you some really good resources for where I get some really amazing affirmations that I either adjust or alter and read out to myself. The first one is, have you heard of Notes from the Universe by Mike Dooley? Yeah, I see some of you nodding. Amazing. Okay, I get these emailed to me. They get emailed to you every single day. And some of them are a bit like, don't really feel that. And others, I'm like, oh my goodness. So any of the ones that are like, oh my goodness, write them out. They're amazing. And I write them out as if I'm saying, like, as if they're to me. And he writes, when you get the emails, they're like that. If you haven't heard of them and you want to start getting them, just Google Notes from the Universe, TUT, and it will come up and you can sign up and you can start getting them in your inbox. But some of the ones that I've written down are just really amazing. And everything I'm talking about is an anchor. Everything's to anchor you back into your body, get you grounded, remind you what you're here for, what you want out of life, and that it's available to you, right? And I find these really, really helpful. So one of my favorite ones is, everyone knows the little secret, Amee, that somehow has escaped you so far. Considering where you began and knowing what you knew, Amee Triscari, no one in your shoes could have done better. No one, not even me. And that, like, it still makes me, and it goes, you've come a long way, baby. And it makes me emotional reading it, because how many times do we get in our head when we start comparing or beating ourselves up, thinking I should have handled that better, I should have done that better, I should have, you know? But this is just one of those things that just reminds you that you did what you did based on what you know and your lived experience so far, and it was your best. Like, it actually was your best. And if not, you're going to learn from it. So anything like that, write down. And they have their own pages where I expand on it, right? And these are the things that I literally get out and read every single day. Every single day I get out. And even if it's like before I go to bed, it's like I read it and it's like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And, you know, and then even the other place I get affirmations, and I always feel like so guilty saying this. I don't know why. I think everyone knows I'm obsessed with TikTok and way too addicted, but I get a lot of good out of it. So that's how I justify it. But affirmations on TikTok, if you get your FYP right, and you will get some of the most amazing, powerful ones that just align with you. And some of my favorite ones are like, what if it turns out better than you ever could have imagined? You know, I love asking that what if question. What if? What if it did? Especially when you're about to do something, because you've got this big life that you know you want to live. You've got this big life that you know is available to you. Maybe like not exactly right this second, but it is, right? And I love the what if question because it doesn't feel too, it feels fun and playful. That's why I love it. And then, there was even like statements, and you can change the wording of any of them. It's like, thank you, universe, for the endless blessings, opportunities, and love you've given me today. I'm open and ready to receive anything and everything that is in my highest and greatest good. I do not chase, I attract, and what was meant for me will always find me. And it just lightens it all, takes all the pressure off, and just lets you know that you're open. And there's so much science behind why this works with the RAS in your brain, where it basically just says to your brain, hey, I'm looking for opportunities today in this direction, show me them. And that's the part of your brain, if you don't know what I'm talking about, that just filters information that's actually in front of you all day, every day anyway. So it's just like a brain hack, right? Okay. Does anyone have any questions about that? I feel like that was quite self-explanatory. And also get involved in TikTok. It's so good. Okay. And then, hang on, I'm going to get through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I wrote a bonus one. So I was just like, have I done 5 yet? Okay. So the 5th one is why you're here to do what you want to do, what you do or what you want to do. And this is like why you feel called to do it, why it matters to you, what you stand for. Like, I don't want you to like freak out about this, but like the impact you're here to have. If that feels too big right now, that's okay. It doesn't have to be the impact, but it's what matters to you. And don't minimize this because it's a big deal. And the reason why you care about it is important, and it's going to be important to other people, right? Everything that we do and want to do is always about other people. It always is. Like by the time you dissect it enough, it always comes back to being of service to other people. And this will have like, I just want to show you like how I've done this, because it's not necessarily like a written statement. I just do it. I do it like this. And then I just have all different colors and I write out like, you know, so it's not even all the same, and it's all different kind of groups of people, and there's all different kind of reasons, and you know, and it's like, this is yours. This is personal to you. You don't have to share this with anyone. You don't have to like go and make it your mission statement. This is purely personal to you. And again, anchors you back into why you want to get up every day and do what you want to do. Mine is centered around my business and the lifestyle I want to live, but yours could be like you might have a job and you might be like a really happy employee, and maybe it's why you want to work in that field, or maybe you've got career aspirations to work for a certain company, or maybe like oh Jill, I just thought of you just then, like you want to go work with big companies as a consultant because of the impact you want to have. Like, go nuts with this. It is yours. You don't have to share it. I just want you to read it and go, oh yeah. That's how I want you to feel when you read it. I want you to feel like, oh yeah, like that's why I'm getting out of bed every day. This is what I'm here to do. And in the moments where it might feel like it's not working, or you're not making enough traction, or I don't know, anything that could happen, right? Is you read this, then you go back through your affirmations, you go back through the people you're already impacting, you go through your beliefs, you go through your end, like not your end goal because it's your everyday goal, right? Like you go back to that and it's like, here I am. This is who I am. This is what I'm about. Okay. I just also want to just say a disclaimer. Like, I'm not saying that we're using this as a way to positive think our way out of everything. Like, I'm here for feeling the feelings, and I 100% think they should be documented in this book, even if they're not positive. Put the negative shit in there as well. What I was taught to do that really made a big impact is, like, get it out, vomit the problem out, but then end it with the solution. Because we're not going to pack up and live here, right? We're going to honor our feelings. We're going to sit with them. We're going to feel them. I'm not saying we're going to analyze them, but we're actually going to look at, like, so what would the solution be right now? Because I'm not stuck. Like, what would the solution be right now that would make a difference? And if you ask yourself that and write on that, like, you already know the answers. You already know. You're smart. Like, you know. And sometimes we just forget that we know. But if you use this book to come back to, and you're constantly documenting stuff as well and journaling in between it, even if it's just sporadically as big things come up, you're going to actually watch in real time how you've changed your life, how you've changed your mindset, how you've shifted, and you'll be able to watch it. And that's magic. Like, it's so powerful to be able to reflect back on, because sometimes when we think about, you know, when you saw everyone doing the 2022 recaps, like, sometimes it can feel like, oh, what did I actually achieve? But you're going to have it all documented, and it's magic. It is so magic. I'm going to leave the bonus one out because I've still got a fair bit to get through, and I feel like it's going to be a lot. But does everyone feel like with those 5 mindset shifts, you know what to do, how to start actioning them? You can see that you're able to build a habit around. And when I say build a habit, attach it to another one. So if there's something that you already automatically do in the morning before you get, I would recommend doing a lot of this in the morning, just because it sets you up to, like, be excited about your day and really getting anchored and grounded and it's centered into who you are and what you're here to do. Is just a habit that you could attach it to, even if it's like washing your face or brushing your teeth, or, I don't know, sitting down with your morning coffee or tea or cacao or whatever you have that you could do this with, even if it's just reading through and checking in. And yeah, I want you to write down what that's going to be. It doesn't have to take hours. It can literally take a couple of minutes. Like, this doesn't have to be hours each day. And also, like, you know, this would be a really good time to be able to add to it. The other thing is remembering, having it somewhere where it's easy to jolt your memory that it's there, and that's what it's there for. Because especially when you're, yes, Jen, I will absolutely send through a replay, no problems. When you're in the thick of it and you're having a really hard time with something, I want it to be there to go, oh my God, I'm going to get this out. This is what this book's for. Like, I want it to be in a place where you remember you've got it, and that's what it's there for. I can work through this with my book. Yeah, you've all got a place like that. Amazing. Okay, so I'm going to give you some fun things that I add in it as well that I also think are really important. And of course, you can elaborate or not use them, but I wanted to give them to you anyway because they're really cute and fun. So make a list of these and then you can make sections for them. So one of the sections I have is things I never want to forget. And this is where I've put, like, pictures, like I've got a Polaroid camera where I've taken pictures and put them in. I've written things down that people have said or thoughts that I've had, moments that I just wanted to get down because I didn't want to forget that happened. And it's just capturing those special memories and moments that bring you joy, or, again, you just don't want to forget because they were fun or sweet or cute, or maybe it's like one of those moments where you felt like you wanted to pinch yourself because this couldn't be real life, or maybe it's like a way that you got a taste of this, like, bigger picture life into your day-to-day life and you felt really good about it. Okay, another section for quotes that impact you. Now, it's one thing to collect quotes, But I like to go one further and talk about like what it stirred in me, what it meant to me at the time, what it made me realize, any thoughts that I have around it, a shift in perspective it may have brought on. Maybe it made me feel really seen in the moment. Maybe it made me feel really powerful, you know, like capturing why you love that quote. I did like a whole page on one that you'll probably laugh because it's like really centered around my whole business. Most people die at 25 and aren't buried until they're 75. And then like I just wrote all around it because I just had so many thoughts and feelings about it. But I do that with a lot that, again, like just bring me back to why I do what I do and what's important to me and what my life's about. Okay. And another one is books that you've read and what you loved about them. So it's your kind of recap on the book, like any new information you've gotten, anything you want to try and take on, why you loved it. This could be dot points. It could just be like random words, random statements, you know, key takeaways, how they've shaped or reaffirmed a point of view or completely changed a point of view. Like this is good. This is a good thing because then you don't have to reread the book again. If you're like, oh, I really love that book, you can just go and you've got a summary of why. Also helps if you ever want to recommend them to people, like especially in my line of work, it's really helpful because I'm like, oh, that's right, I love this book because of this, 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 and this, and that would be really great for you because of this. Recipes you've tried and loved and never want to forget to make. So I've got like a whole heap of my nonna's recipes in there. I got random ones for magazines that I tried that completely blew me away. I've got ones that I got from Instagram that I altered that I'm a big foodie. Like food has to taste amazing or I don't want to eat it. So I loved that. And also it's just helpful for like if you want to make them again and it's fun. Okay, the next one is ideas you have or things you want to try. So I do this a lot with business ideas where I actually just let myself go and flesh out a whole page full of the whole idea. Sometimes I do nothing with them, right? Sometimes I look back and I'm like, oh my God, that's brilliant. I've got the space for that now. I'm going to bring that together now. But it could literally be anything. It could be an activity you want to try. It could be, oh, I'd love to like get my friends together once a week and have dinner parties, like anything that you want. Have a section for that. I also made like a mini life vision board in there, but it wasn't really a vision board. It was just pictures that made me feel excited and alive and like represented me, what I felt like was me. So I had a whole section of that where I just cut and paste them. And it just is something that even now when I look back and I'm like, makes me feel calm. Like I'm like, oh yeah, that's it. That's the good stuff. I feel like I'm talking really fast. Do you want me to slow down or is it okay? It's good? Okay. And then the last one is, I already touched on this, anything that you need to process, get it out, and then create more powerful thoughts and conversations around it. Do we all feel like that's plenty to get started with? Does anyone have any questions about anything? Or you want to workshop something? I'm all yours.
I have a question, if you can hear me.
I can. Is that Kayla? It's Kayla.
Yes. Hi, I have a new microphone.
I love it.
Yes. So basically in the first 5 minutes of you talking, I realized that I want to be more spontaneous in my day. Yeah. But like you obviously can't go and get a piercing every day, even though I'd like to. So I don't really know how to incorporate something like that. So what would be your advice?
Well, what does spontaneity look like to you?
Basically, well, the last time I did it, I woke up on a Sunday. I'm like, I'm going to go get a piercing and got my ears pierced. So it doesn't have to be that big.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So, okay, this is a boring answer, but it works. The best way to be spontaneous is to schedule in time to allow yourself to be, right? So if you are booked out and you have like things to do left, right, and center, maybe you go to work, then you've got this, then you've got this, then you've got this. There's actually no room for spontaneity at all, or even really room for ideas to manifest, like not manifest, like ideas to come to you about what you want to do, right? So I would schedule in time for that. And maybe you don't have a spontaneous activity you want to do today, but maybe during that time, you can instead do something that gets you creatively thinking. So it depends what that looks like for you. Like usually for me, it's listening to podcasts, or I listen to like motivational videos a lot. I even have like a Spotify podcast that's just like motivational video I can't say that word, anyway, where they like compile them all together. So doing stuff like that actually gets your brain thinking like that, but I'd schedule in time so you've got availability to. And then look, if you wanted to go get a piercing each day, how long is it going to take you? You'd only need an hour out of the day, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I will do that.
Cool. Yeah. Scheduling is, and planning, I even cringe a bit when I say it, but it's literally the answer to everything. It is literally the answer to having a wildly spontaneous life, because if I wasn't so scheduled and planned, there is no way. And even I'm not the most self-disciplined when it comes to sticking to a schedule and a plan, but it means like I wouldn't be able to live this life. I wouldn't be able to like generate an income and travel and go sightseeing and keep Havana happy and do all of those things, and be able to look after myself and take care of myself as well. It all comes down to having a schedule and a plan. But that does mean, like, just because you're planning, it doesn't mean filling every minute of your time. That's not what it means. It means just being in charge of your time and knowing what's going on. But also the key to all of it as well is not being attached to everything going to plan on that time. Because if there's anything that I'm learning really bloody quickly while I'm traveling, it's that I have to allow for everything to just, like when I got Bali Belly the other night, like I couldn't function. We couldn't do anything the next day. It's just allowing for life to happen and it being okay, because you have I've got free time where I can make up for that. And there are things that I can put in place to, so like to make sure that I can get that work done, or we can do those activities, or that I can keep Havana entertained, and all of that. It all works because I have a schedule and a plan, but without feeling every second of my day. Now, when I said about scheduling in spontaneous time, it could just be free time. And I know that sounds like weird having to do that, but it's actually the key to everything, because that you're not stressed or worried, or maybe you're like at work and you have this great idea, or maybe you're running your business and you have this great idea, but how much better are you going to feel knowing that you've got time? That's okay, Caitlin, bye. Knowing that you've got time allocated where you can actually go do that. Like it's almost like a relief. It like gets rid of the mental space. You don't need to think about it. This goes with like everything. Can everyone see how this applies to literally everything? Yeah. Okay, cool. Is there any other questions?
That was great. Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
I have a question that is a bit kind of like embarrassing, I suppose. But like if I have this book and I'm putting my thoughts in it, I feel like everyone in my family is going to want to look at it, and I don't want them to look at it. So how do people maintain privacy if you're putting everything down on paper?
Well, I read mine out to the internet, so you're asking the wrong person.
Yeah, I know. But I guess maybe someone feels like I do, doesn't want to share it all straight away. Like, I don't know.
Well, I don't know. That's a boundary right there. That's setting a boundary. Like, are you talking about adults or kids?
Both.
Yeah, it's going to be a solid boundary, and it's going to have to be really you anchoring into, this is mine and this is private and it's personal to me. And yeah, I would just be zero tolerance for it, and literally just expecting that it wouldn't happen.
Okay.
But also set that boundary. I don't know. It depends on their personality, because I'm also a bit like, I know that some of my family members, if I was to say, I've got this, I'd like it to be private, they would literally go and read it. So it's almost like I'm like, probably don't have that conversation up front. But if there was any inquiry around it, you could either like act like, oh, it's nothing. Like, oh, you know what I mean? And almost like take it away, depending on their personality. Like if it was my brother, I'd be like, oh, here, can I read some of it to you? And he'd be like, fuck off and leave. Do you know what I mean? So you almost want to like, I know that's a bit manipulative, but siblings, right? That's how it rolls.
Can I add something to that? I never journaled for that reason, Lauren. Like I always wished that I had it, but I was always too afraid to write anything down because somebody would read it. And probably what would go into my journal today would be very different to like 20 years ago. But I used to be afraid as well. But I kind of thought to myself, what's the worst case scenario that somebody, my kids or my husband, read it? And it's very like what I put down on paper is very heartfelt. And I think we're probably just like, it's very vulnerable to put yourself out there and then have somebody read it. But I think it actually would be quite inspiring for somebody to read it. Like if they read it, it's kind of on them. Like the worst case scenario is that they tease you about it, but I don't know. I think it's I've managed to move on. So I leave my stuff out everywhere. It's like when my parents visit, if my husband's around, my kids have access to it, and I've never once had to have a conversation about it. So that's my experience anyway.
Okay.
Thank you. That's really great, Jill. I love that. Nailed it. Yeah. You can do it, Lauren. I believe in you. Next thing you know, you'll be reading it to everyone. You're like, who is she? Who is she? Does anyone else have any questions before we wrap up? No? All good. Amazing. Okay, thank you all for showing up. Now, if you feel like you're stuck and you're not sure what your, I don't want to say the word purpose because I feel like there's so much pressure on that word, but it kind of is. Like if you're not sure what it is that you want out of life or where you want to go or what you want your life to look like, I've created a brand new program called Become on Purpose. And it's literally designed for you to be able to get clear on what it is you want and then actually bring it into everyday life by scheduling and planning it. And I go into all of that's why I was like, this is like a way along the process, is where I break it down, how to schedule and plan it. But we take the time to actually get clear on what you want your life to look like first and what's important to you. And the whole idea of this program is so that you can make decisions really powerfully. Like I said at the beginning, is it getting me closer to what the life that I want, or is it taking me further away? So if that is something that you feel like you need extra support with, I have that program. It's going live literally right now. I've got early bird pricing available to you with a payment plan. It's 4 modules and it comes with workbooks, and we start on January 23rd. I will email out the link to it so you can have a read about what's included. If you have any questions, reach out to me. You can ask me literally via anything. I'm usually on Instagram. It's where I hang out the most because I can voice message back. But if email's your jam, feel free to email me. If anything comes up from what we've done today and you feel stuck or unsure, or you're like, oh, just message me. Just message me, because like I said, if you're thinking it, someone else will, and I'll either get back to you directly or I'll be like, oh, this is really good. I'm going to make some stories about this, and I'll put some stories and some information together so everyone can benefit from it as well. But thank you. And like, you should be thanking yourself, like an hour out of your day. And I feel like, no, I know that this is going to make a huge impact on your year ahead. And I'm really, really, really excited for all of you.
Thank you, Amee. That was awesome.
Thanks, Jill. Thanks for coming. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Thanks, Bree. Thanks, Kayla. Thanks for all your wonderful questions. Oh, you guys are the best.
Thanks, Amee.
You're welcome. Thanks, Holly. And I will send you the replay. So if you join in late, don't worry. You will get it all from the beginning.
Amazing.
Oh, I'm still not drinking, Lauren. I'll have a mocktail for you. All right. I'll speak to you guys soon.
Thanks,
Bye.
Amee.
Thanks, Ange. See ya.